And I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Cohen. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Hi guys. I I work for New Seasons Treatment Center, and at New Seasons we treat opiate addiction, and of course that's very prevalent. Tonight I thought that I would kind of roughly use the slideshow. I would love it if you ask questions as we go along or have any input about what we're discussing. And I deal with addiction all day, but as everybody probably can think about this, there are many types of addiction. Anything from drugs and alcohol to food to shopping, all kinds of things. And so what is it worth it when you get into this situation? So let's see. Addiction is dependency. It's a habit. It's compulsion. It's a fixation. It becomes an enslavement for people. How do you let these things affect the quality of your life? Well, I am here to tell you that I have see people every day with years and years of addiction that they're living with. And believe me, it can define them. And I would like for you to think about how you would like to see yourself in 5 to 10 years and 20 years. Where would you like to, what kind of quality of life are you looking for? How does that happen to you? People never think it's going to happen to them. I have people that have had an accident and then have become addicted to the medication that they were taking from that. It's really important to take things as they're prescribed and not additional medication. So is addiction caused by one single thing? No. And it's not a lack of willpower. It's a combination of things, but it's never somebody's willpower. If it were that easy, everybody would just quit. You wouldn't do it. And I just want you to, if you know somebody with addiction or struggle with addiction, to know that it is not because you're weak or they're weak. It's because it is actually, it's a disease. Biological risk factors can really be very important if someone, maybe your family has addiction issues, or you you personally do. It says that the number one thing that people are becoming addicted to are alcohol and something called fentanyl, which you guys may have heard about. Fentanyl is nothing to play with. It kills people every single day. So does alcohol, many things do. But it's talking about if you have, sometimes people have genetic factors, and the genetic factors are something you can't deal with. I mean, they're there. You don't get to change them. You learn how to live with them. You learn how to have coping skills to cope with what is happening. But the genetics won't just put you there. I think it's important to know. I would tell you some self-disclosure. Addiction is strong in my family. And a lot of times people either go the path of the addiction or they go the total opposite because they've lived with it their whole lives and they've seen it. Environmental factors, your surroundings, your home, your work, your school, the people you hang out with, all those things are factors. But one of the most important things that I think is your childhood, your younger years, what you were exposed to, what could have, maybe sometimes people begin to use drugs to escape what they're being exposed to or have been exposed to. There are a lot of risk factors. So sometimes it's an unstable or chaotic home. I came from a very chaotic home. Lack of parental or caregiver supervision. That is a big deal too. And if your parent or your caregiver, whoever might be raising you, has a history of drug abuse or mental health, and that is serious stuff. And a lot of times people use drugs to treat their own mental illness rather than have a doctor treat them. And they don't even realize that they have a mental illness. It's called self-medicating. And a criminal behavior, if you live with someone who has any of these things going on, you're going to be in a very high risk. Physical or sexual abuse can cause people to turn to an escape, and the drugs and the alcohol become the escape. All these things I would say that we just talked about equals stress, but stress is on here, and stress can be so different for everyone. It can be, I've got a test to take, and I didn't get enough time to study because I was babysitting my little brother or sister. Stress can be, worried that the power's off at home. Stress can be a lot of things for us. And it can also be, your boyfriend or your girlfriend broke up with you. Anytime there's early aggressive behavior, maybe someone was more physical with you as a child. Maybe they spanked you too hard or shook you or pushed you into a corner, not physically, but even mentally. That's a big deal. Associating with others who use drugs or engage in risky behaviors. Have you ever known anybody who shoplifted? That is a kind of high that people get. Just the strangest thing that you may never even consider really does engage another person. If people are struggling in school, or if they have a socioeconomic status, that is usually defined as lower income. Or if drugs are available. Maybe they're in the bathroom cabinet at grandma's house or mom and dad's house. That's something to really think about. Can you get to them? Should you get to them? Do you know what they are? Don't take anything that is not got your name on the bottle. Developmental risk factors for addiction. While genetic and environmental risk factors are critical in your life, so are changes in your life, like when you start middle school or high school or college, because typically the parental guidance is lightened with each step. So you have more freedom to make more choices. I know there's I don't know if you guys live in the area, but I'm in the Chattanooga area. And, a lot of the schools have officers there now to help monitor the high risk that we just talked about, aggressive behavior, drugs, anything you can think of, stealing. A lot of things can lead to that, but maybe it's just because you want to fit in. Everybody else is doing it. When I was young, marijuana was like the thing. And I was at a party and everybody was smoking, and I was like, gotta get out of there. I was terrified. And they're like, no, you're going to smoke too, because we're all smoking and you might tell. Finally, one person stood up for me and said, no, leave her alone. And I was able to get out of there. So one suggestion that I would have that I learned the hard way is don't put yourself in a place that you don't need to be. protect yourself all the time, and be sure that the people that you're with are trustworthy, that you have maybe a code word or something, or a way to call for help. But even if you're going with a group of people and you all decide that you're going to say, if you need to go, I want to go get a banana split, then everybody knows you need to get out of there. You don't have to say, hey, we need to go. You can try a lot of things. Alcohol has, this one really rings my bell. 11.4% of all the alcohol in the country consumed is by underage kids. That's a lot of alcohol for somebody who's not even legally able to buy it. The average age for boys to first drink is 11 and girls 13. That is young, guys. I don't know how old you are, but you guys look like you're a little older than 11 or 12. So it's something to, think about. Have you had your first drink? Would you have your first drink? What are the circumstances you would even consider? Be sure you know what's going on around you. Have you ever heard of a gateway drug? You can just nod if you have. No? Okay. A gateway drug is when somebody says, okay, if you try this, then you'll get braver and you'll try another one, or you'll be a little bit high. So you're going to be a little bit more apt to try something else because your thought process is not as sharp as it would be had you not been exposed to that. Gateway drugs, believe it or not, nicotine, smoking a cigarette. Do you know why people smoke cigarettes so much? No, because it gives them a high. That's the initial reason that people smoke, because the nicotine gives them a high and it's socially acceptable. Everybody's smoking and it's legal to buy cigarettes, but it's not legal for underage. Marijuana is the most common gateway drug, but now they're saying alcohol is. Would you have just a little bit of a drink when you're not used to drinking will get you lightheaded, dizzy, you might get nauseated, all kinds of things. But the biggest thing that I want to stress to you is that it will lower your inhibitions, and what you might normally always say no to, you wouldn't, because you feel a little bit brave, or if you're with a group, you may feel a little challenged. And if you ever aren't sure about a lot of the number one thing that people are addicted to is caffeine. That's the largest thing. Caffeine, then nicotine, alcohol, marijuana. And a lot of people think you can't get addicted to marijuana. You can get addicted to marijuana. I have 400 people I see every month, and most everybody has had this experience. Gateway means that it's a habit-forming drug, and while one not be addicted to that drug, that will lead to the use of other drugs. So this is like saying, well, I might not be addicted to cigarettes, but the cigarette may drive me to drink. So it increases that. The more risk, it increases your chance of more illegal involvement. I like this slide a lot. It's got a lot going on. But see here, this is your frontal lobe. This is the front of your head. And the frontal lobe is not fully developed in a person until they're about 25 years old. So when you're younger, you may make some decisions that you wouldn't normally make had you had all that development. When I was young, 21, people stayed home until they were 21, and you couldn't vote and you couldn't drink, nothing until you were 21. And a lot of that was because I guess scientists knew, and it was more old school, that frontal lobe can get you in trouble. How many of your friends do you know, or maybe even you, that have a child and they're a teenager? That is something that you wouldn't normally make a decision about. Then as you get older, because of exposure to marijuana, then you can have a lower libido. You can get weakness on the side of your face, one side or the other. Depression is very prevalent with avid marijuana users. It can diminish your taste and smell. Just think of all the things that you love to smell. Thanksgiving dinner, all kinds of things that smell so good, you could lose that. And and you become easily distracted and have behavior changes. I sort of got off target there, and I know that, but this is something that the frontal lobe can be damaged also by the marijuana use. But remember, this is developing, it's forming all for a long time, and you can already be moved out and have a kid and have college and still be working on that part of your development. Oh, I know, it'll never be me. Boy, addiction lies in your own voice. Becoming addicted is easy because nobody knows that's what they're doing. We tell ourselves that we're just having fun, we're just going to a party, we're just relaxing. We need to minimize the severity of addiction by focusing on what we have, not what we've lost. Okay, so this is saying that a lot of times you think, well, I still have all these things going on. I still have my family support. I still have school. I still have these things. And it doesn't talk about what you may have lost. Maybe you got a drug charge from the police. Maybe you can't get your license now until you're 18 because you got in trouble. It says I only drink alcohol, and it's just beer. I only drink beer. I don't drink liquor. Guys, that is not even close to what is safe. Do you know that wine has more alcoholic content than one beer? One glass of wine has more alcoholic content than a beer. So be wary of that. I know, it's true. Cocaine abusers say, well, I'm not using meth. I'm not shooting up. I don't have a needle. I just smoke it, right? Well, and pill poppers say, well, at least I'm not using heroin. I'm not shooting it up. Well, addiction denies itself, and in the scariest voice of all, your voice. When you hear yourself telling yourself this kind of stuff, get some help, talk to somebody, call Miss Price, or do something. Join a group online. There are many online support groups now. They're 24/7. Get in one, do something. Addiction is not a moral failing or weakness. People who struggle with addiction aren't bad, although they do bad things to maintain their habit. They're just sick. It can be in all kinds of ways that it manifests. But the thing that they say when you're in the room or in a group, they call that in the room. There are three choices: jail, death, or institution. And I like to say that there's jail, death, or recovery. You can get into recovery. And I have people who used to be heroin users back from the 70s, guys. That long ago, heroin was really popular. And now they're in recovery. And they've been in recovery for 20 or 30 years because they got out of this cycle right here. That's a big deal. Now, Shame is another layer of the whole thing. And shame is when people have experienced a lot of shame, they're not comfortable. They're jokes. They may joke about their self to cover up the shame or embarrassment or guilt. Shame is about who you are, and guilt is about what you've done. So when you feel ashamed of yourself, then think about this. You have a love-hate relationship with the drug of choice in yourself. And remember that I said earlier, it can be a lot of things. It's not necessarily just beer. It can be a lot of other ways that it manifests itself. And people love how they feel when they're high, but they hate what they're doing to get there. You judge yourself harshly, you call yourself, and this is huge. I hear this every day. I'm just a junkie. That's all you think of me as. That's all anybody sees is just a junkie. Maybe they think they're too weak to quit using, and some of them think their family would be better off without them. That is not true. There's I can't remember who said it, but an old famous person said, everybody's worth knowing. Don't ever forget that. There's value in somebody has something to offer always. You don't have to see the staircase, the whole staircase. You can just take one step at a time. Whatever that step means for you, it might just mean, hey, I'm lonely over here. I don't want to go down that path. Or it might mean, hey, I'm already 3 steps up the staircase. How do I get back down? Never be afraid to ask how to come out of anything. I don't care if you're 15 or 25 or 55. Always ask for help, and that will never get you in the wrong place. I'd like you guys to have any questions or any feedback. No? Blake is shaking his head no. How about anybody else? Did you learn anything you hadn't heard before? You did? Good. That's good. I'm used to doing groups with a lot of people, so it's kind of weird when it's quiet. But I can tell everybody's paying attention by how they're watching. So that's really great. Please just remember to support a friend that might be in trouble, or get support for yourself, or ask for help for a family member too. And I guess that's about all I have, unless anybody wants to talk about anything else.
No questions? No. You can always put in the chat any questions you have just to me, and I could ask them, so they'll be anonymous.
Mhm.
Also, if you think of something that you have questions about later, you can always email me, and I can reach out to Miss Cohen and we can get those answered.
Oh, please do that. About anything that's going on. I've worked with youth for a long time, and I really enjoy it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I guess if there are no questions, I can let you guys go. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Ms. Cohen, and for all of you guys that joined us tonight. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you next week. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the topic is, but we'll have another workshop next week. Thank you all so much, and you have a great night.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh, there's a whole crew.